Well, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and to everyone out there. And I'm so glad to finally get back with you to do some more episodes of Vena Teaches. We all start our these projects with I'm going to be doing this, every day, and then life happens. I'm a school teacher, so I'm in school. I have to say that we rolled out this semester very, very well. We have in person school. We have a few kids that are doing virtual, but we have kids in class, in school, and they are learning. And our parents are great, students are great, administration great, teachers. We were able to provide the kiddos a great experience at school for the first semester. We had them in class. Their bodies and their minds were in class. And y'all, that is where they need to be. Students need to be in the classroom. Unless there is unless there is some kind of medical reason, kiddos need to be in school with their friends, with their peers, and that is how they need to be learning right now. We need to double down on doing everything possible to get these kiddos back in school. But we just ended what I would say a very successful first semester. As a teacher, exhausting, students exhausted. It takes a lot to wear the masks and to come to school knowing that you can't hug your students. You can't have them hugging each other. You have to keep them separated. It is a lot of work, but it is necessary to keep these babies in the classroom, and that is where they need to be. But all that aside, I got a little sidetracked on my Vena Teaches because I've got to tell you, I'm tired, but I've got my second wind. We ended our semester yesterday, and so I am committed to doing as much of this as I possibly can. I love it. It is so much fun for me to get on here and just talk to you and teach you about different things on my own time schedule. So, I wanted to bring up something that probably a lot of you know about, but I wanted to touch on it and kind of segue it into something happening today. And by segue, if you don't know what that means that we take something that's happening and we use it as an entry point to talk about something else. So that's a term that people in the media use and everything like that. Or if someone brings something up, we can say, "Oh, well, I tell you that makes me think. I remember such and such," and then that gets us to another point. So I want to talk to you about the Christmas truce. Now, the Christmas truce, for those of you who do not know or need a refresher, like we all do, the Christmas truce happened in December of 1914, starting on the eve of December 25th through December 25th during the Great War. Now, some of you may know the Great War as World War One, which it is also known as, but at the time it was the Great War because it was really supposed to be the war that was going to end all other wars. Well, we know that didn't happen. But at the time, we've got the Central Powers, who are Germany, Austria Hungary, Bulgaria, the Ottoman Empire, and they are fighting against the Allied powers, which would consist of and other Great Britain, okay, France, right, Russia, okay. We've got those are people that make up the Allied powers. The United States is not involved in the Great War until 1917. Okay, so this is happening before the United States has gotten involved, but physically. Now, it's 1914, Christmas time. These, young boys thought that they were going to be able to be home by Christmas. Everybody does. Everybody in war, from what I read and from reading journals and diaries, it's, I want to be home for your birthday. If I can just be home if I can make it home by Christmas. And that desire feeds them. It keeps them going. But y'all, the Great War, it was a rough war. Okay. It is fought in trenches. Okay. You may only be a football field, okay, 100 yards, 200 yards away from your enemy, and they could be in their trenches, you're in your trenches. If you went 10 yards a day or got 15 yards in a week or 2 miles in a course of 10 months, you were doing great. That's how this war worked. Y'all, it was a nightmare, and trenches were a rough way to live. Okay. And we're going to talk about all that later, but let's just suffice it to say that we've got young boys who are out in the middle of this nightmare war in the trenches, wanting to be home by Christmas, and it's Christmas. The time is upon us now. It had been raining and raining and raining, and just, if you dig deeper and deeper into the ground, it doesn't get drier. It gets wetter. Okay. So when rain is falling into the trench, there's really nowhere for it to absorb. It just was, people, stayed wet all the time, cold. Okay. So let's just suffice it to say it's pretty miserable. But right around the time of Christmas, okay, it stopped raining, and it kind of had a frozen effect. It stopped. The rain stopped, but it was still cold, and the frost on the ground, according to some people who wrote about it, it looked like crystals. And people started. It was hopeful. The rain had stopped. It's Christmas. Listen, people from Germany, the Ottoman Empire, Hungary, Russia, Great Britain, um, France, all of these people celebrate Christmas in some form or fashion. They're Judeo Christian. Okay. This is not one group of religious group fighting against another religious group as far as who they worship and how. These are all people who celebrate Christmas in their own country, in their own way, but everybody celebrated Christmas. Okay. Now, what they say, and y'all, there's accounts, but I'm just going to how we nutshell here. The Germans began to sing Christmas carols in their trench. Well, if you're only a football field away, you're going to hear them. So when they started singing their Christmas carols in their own native tongue, okay, well, the British started singing their Christmas carols. And so it would go back and forth, and they would sing their Christmas carols back and forth. And then sometimes, while one was singing Silent Night in German, the other was singing it in English. And so there was this idea, they'd yell, "Hey, Merry Christmas," in English. Y'all, people don't realize this. See, when the war broke out, a lot of Germans worked in Great Britain. And so they knew English. Probably more Germans knew English than English knew, how to speak in German. So they were able to talk with them, and they would say, "Hey, shoot, shoot, we know shoot." And they had someone come out, y'all. It was called no man's land in between because no man wanted to be out there. And they would raise their flag and they'd say, "Merry Christmas, shoot, we know." And so At first, people thought it was a ploy to bring and lure them out and kill them, but that's not what happened. So on the night of Christmas, the night, the day of miracles, the just the most beautiful day, the Germans and the British, and it happened kind of simultaneously and around all the different trenches. A truce happened, and they got together and they shared. Some had tobacco, some had coffee, some had whiskey, some had champagne. Somewhere or another, a soccer ball gets thrown out there, and they start playing a game, and they're talking with each other, and they're realizing that we've got a lot more in common than we do different. So we're just young kids fighting for our country here. Okay. So this Christmas truce is should be something that provides hope. Now, you know what ended the Christmas truce? The people in charge, the leaders ended the Christmas truce. The soldiers, the yous and the me's, all, man, I met this guy. He's a great guy. We shared coffee. We shared a drink. And then, well, we can't do this. The leaders, you're fighting for this group and they're fighting for their group. And so the battle raged on, starting the next day. Now, the leaders had a real problem with it. So a lot of them sometimes moved their people who had been in a truce with the other side off the line where they were going to be, because they felt like they would hesitate, which some of them did, to fight. Okay. They put their differences aside, even for a day, to do something good. They all were longing for home. They all thought they were going to be home by Christmas. They're all in the same boat. Okay. So, my segue, if during the middle of a war, okay, if during the middle of a war, two opposing sides can put down their guns, put down their bayonets, allow the other side to go into no man's land and bring their dead back without a problem, throw a soccer ball out, share some champagne, share a few laughs, even for just a little bit. Don't you think that we can put aside our differences? I can. You probably can too. But think back. Who did I say was causing the fight to continue? The higher ups. Okay? The ones who think they know better. All right? We can't do this. We're not on the right side. You're not fighting for the right side. Get back over here. We're moving you to where you need to be. That's the leadership. Okay, here's my segue again. Congress, with an 18% approval rating. 18%. You know, you're having news stories saying we've got to work through the weekend. We may not even get to go home before Sunday or Monday because we may not get we're going to have to stay here. That is so sad that you have to stay and do your job. Find a truce. Find a way to find some common ground for the American people. Be an example of what you would like everyone else to be like. Don't pull people away from trying to find common ground because, well, that's just not the way that, okay, maybe there's a new way to do something. Okay. Maybe there's put aside your nitpicking petty differences, Congress, with an 18% approval rating. See, y'all, that's not good. It's bad. You're failing. Okay. And that's not just Democrats, it's not just Republicans, it's the whole lot. Okay. So, a Christmas miracle that our Congress and our leadership can find a common ground during a very trying time. Okay. I think it's time for the people to demand our own Christmas truce. Our own Christmas truce. Now, I am going to be with you through Christmas time, hopefully a lot. I would be honored and would appreciate if you subscribe to this channel. This is such a fun adventure I'm on it. But like I said, if it's just 4 or 5 of us, then we're going to have a grand time. I'd love it if you would subscribe. I'd love if you would like this video and go back and look. There's another video about the Great War, about why we have Veterans Day on 11/11 that I would love for you to take a look at. Okay. You can also go take a look at Congress. Quit making my job so hard. Okay. That's a good one too. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you soon on the next episode of Venna Teaches. We're going to be doing holiday encouragement for the next 2 weeks. Have a good one. Here we go.